Hey, it's Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. What we're about on this podcast, or what I aim at, is to get to the root of our actions, things that have um, created a lot of divisiveness in the world, things that have created a lot of violence, domestic violence, the violence towards men, women, children, elderly, the greed that we see in the world, the slandering that we see in the world, is at the root of all of that is our thoughts, ideas that have been impressed upon us for a very long time, because it is the consistent growing or sprouting up thoughts that causes us to react consistently in a consistent manner. So it's things that we fed, whether it was fed with opinions, stereotypes, with fear, with anger, but often those that we consider are important to us are people that create a memorable impression on us, and that memory could be sad, it could be anger, it could be feeling of happiness, but somehow there was a spark that was given, and we got the idea that life is supposed to be this way, whether it's to be kind to someone, happy, smiling, or to yelling. And if you really think back about anything that someone has said about you, whether they say that they're comfortable in your presence, or they feel like you're very angry, or that you appear to be depressed or sad or blue, whatever it may be. If you think back far enough, if you really want to change, if you really want to become something that you are, is just hidden underneath all this rubble, all this these things, these weeds that have been continually draining you from your true life presence. If you really want to do that, you just have to look back. And often we look back in our childhood. And I know a lot of people say, don't look back, continue to press forward. But sometimes if we find ourselves in a rut, and many adults do, right? We're doing stuff that is unbecoming of us, whether it's our thoughts, our actions, to ourselves, to our children, to our husband, our spouses. We have adultery, we have teenage pregnancy, um, homicides, suicides. All of that is a combination of individual consciousness. And what I've been talking about for believe the end of November to December, the last 2 weeks before the holidays, the Christmas, is the relationship, the concept of relationship, concept um, where we're looking at the relationship between what we can consider that created all of us or created you. So whether you call it God, whether you call it Allah, whatever you may call it, infinite intelligence, spirit. And remember, it's not about what you call it so much, but what you believe this power is. This power that is has the sun where it is, and the earth, and the rotation, other planets, the universe, the galaxies, the one that keeps the water separate from the oceans, the ideas that we get to build houses and create cars. There's this intelligence, this energy, that we are a microcosm of that. And again, it's not whatever it is that you believe this power is often going to portray in how you treat yourself, so relationship with self, and how you treat others. And I know there's a lot of stereotypes. I was thinking about myself before this podcast and just kind of seeing, okay, how do I want to address the relationship? And I originally had 4 questions to ask, but I wanted to share that often, the stereotype is that women are the ones that are more of the caregivers, and often we put ourselves last. And those are things that I've heard throughout my years. I think originally, if my mom, if she was on here, she'd tell you, Tamika was kind of rebellious when it came to, girls should be the ones that clean up, because I felt like that if you live in the house and you're eating the food and you're doing all the things that I'm doing, you should be taking part in that. And, my mother, the one who really gave me a lot of the principles that I share, um, is she even said, you're the woman, you're the female. And I remember us having kind of an intense conversation about it one day while I was in the dining room helping her cook. I was peeling some potatoes, and I thought to myself, it's everybody's responsibility. And I think over the years that that seed, because of how influential my mother was to me in building my core, building my foundation with her principles, things that she taught me, live another day. And I've been sharing those, and definitely in the Seeds We Plant. And I'm doing it right now in Heal from the Inside Out on Fridays, is that she still made that seed was still sown in me. And slowly but surely, a lot of that, it started growing inside of me, because I was more concerned about others and cleaning the house and making sure, food was prepared. Um, Still, I could feel some of that rebelliousness. And then when I moved out in my 20s in my apartment, I really felt like God, I've been raised as infinite intelligence. I do call it by that, spirit. I'm using the terminology of Master Gardener in Cultivate, a book that I'm doing on regarding cultivation. And I felt like at that time I needed to take care of myself, because I had been there doing other things for other people, that I really had the time to take care of myself. And then when I had children, it was like, trying to hold on to my independence, trying to hold on to my self care, and trying to also be there for babies. So if you're a mother, you know what it's like when you have babies crying, they're wanting you, maybe even a father, caregiver of children. And I felt for a long time that I kind of actually was losing parts of myself, losing that mentality of delegation and fairness and self-care, and just kind of, dipping in and out of that. And now that I am in my 50, I'm 50, that I really start thinking about how necessary it is that we do care for ourselves. As an integrated nutrition health coach, as a trained nurse licensed in Missouri, the importance, I've seen it where we lose ourselves in our experiences. We lose ourselves as caregivers, as me as a mother. We lose ourselves as spouses, and those that we have, that we have a relationship with, whoever it may be, even our jobs. And what we have to realize, what is so important, is that we not only teach others how to treat us, but we teach ourselves. And through our actions, through our thoughts about ourselves, am I good enough? I should be the very last person, that servant mentality. Even when you think about Jesus, you think about that servant mentality. But there comes a time that, we really must take care of ourselves, because we can't be doing it to please others or to show them that we are a good person, because behind that are those seeds of feeling unworthy, right? Those things that have sprouted within us, and they can be masked as, being always there for someone, helping them. And then we're building up this side of us, we're building weeds in us of anxiety, never getting things done, of anger, resentment, bitterness, confusion, because it's like, what the heck? I'm doing for them and I'm trying to do for myself. How do I get that perfect balance in my life? And I think what I've done as I reflect on, I'm a planner. I like to organize things. And I think what really works for me, and you have to ask yourself, what really works for me? What can I do to help me get that balance in my life, to help me be more of myself? And a few things come to mind. One of them is time, time management. And one of the things that have worked for me is, and I know in the past, is being able to get up early, rise early, to create that space. Now that I have my room, we're back on the West Coast, but creating that space where you can be quiet, and using that time for me, for prayer, for meditation, for visualization, things that I tried to do even when my children were young. And my little daughter would come in there at 4:30. It never failed. She'd roll in like somehow there was some magnetic tie between us that she knew I was up. But now that my children are a little bit older, I don't get that anymore. It happened for some time. But even then, I would get up in the morning and I would come in and really center myself for my day and realize that what my mom would say is time is going to move no matter what. And it's realizing that I need to make the best use of my time. So we want to make the best use of our time. So getting up, and I think it's so essential to what I've stated before, as you dress your body. And I usually don't get dressed in the morning, early in the morning. I wait until after I'm done with my morning work. So it's prayer, it's meditation, it's visualization. I do have my folder of my pictures and all that. Much of stuff that have come true, things that I've created, from my mind, my thoughts, with this power, and I have that in there. And so it really builds my confidence. It really tells me that this does work. Visualization, sitting quietly, meditation, prayer, reading Bible scripture verses, and really start, what I'm learning is the importance of really digging into my work. Really not procrastinating, but really going into the work and getting it done and just trusting the process. I've read things about Wayne Dyer and Dr. Wayne Dyer, and how he, would get up early in the morning and he would sit there sometimes and just write. And what I found is that writer's block is often has to deal with you feeling not good enough, you feeling like you're not the vessel to bring this work about. And what we have to remember is that, and what I say to you, I say to myself, is that we were chosen to be vessels, that we don't have to prove ourselves to the infinite intelligence. And I was just talking to my children about, my son, about proving yourself and doing things for other people. We have work to do, assignments to do. And when we get wrapped up in, are we good enough? Or will people hate it? Will people like it? That in itself, we create the barrier. We create the barrier because then we don't know how to go about writing, because we have created this barrier that it's going to depend, my success depends on what other people think about me, instead of I am a vessel, and what has been given to me has been given to me, and it has full right to be here and to be able to clear our minds. And that's why it's so important to clear the mind in the morning, because as you clear it, things flow through. And I think, one of the things that my mother told me is that just because someone else experiences something doesn't mean you have to. So if you are allowing that to flow through, it's going to feel weird, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is flowing for me. But other people say, writer's block, what is that? And I think information is important, but when we get too involved and try to recreate that somebody else's lifestyle within ourselves, believe that we have to experience stuff, again, that's creating another barrier. And it's so important to realize that, yes, you want to live long, but the moment is now. What can I do now? And that's what I'm learning, because if you're a parent, caregiver, you know that your time, you don't know how your time is going to show up, right? And you can set down boundaries, but I think it's so important that as a mother, my success is tied with my children's success, them as artists, and just being available. And I found out so many times, you guys, being available and what that does to confidence and self esteem, and what that does to creativity. Because when you feel good about yourself, just when we're talking about our relationship with ourselves, when you feel good about yourself and confident, you could sit down and do something that have originally taken you hours to do, take a few minutes. And I did that yesterday when I was working on a log line. And I just literally sat here. I did not have any other thoughts other than to do the work. I didn't um, think that I wasn't good enough or allow doubt to come in. I said, I can do this. And I sat there and I got the highest rating I'd ever had gotten on a log line before for a script. And so it is so important, and a top rating. So it is so important to just allow ourselves to realize that what has been given to me was given to me, period. And whatever that is so needed in the world. Because if it wasn't, then I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't have this gift. And so I think the other excitement about that is realizing that your life has meaning and purpose. And when we think about our relationship with ourselves and our self image, our self worth, just realizing that your birth justified your belongingness. You are here for reasons. And everything that you do, everything that we do, plays into our purpose. Every experience is to create a masterpiece of the brilliancy that we are. And so when we think about relationship with ourselves and we think about all these diets, we think about all these workouts and there's, and I'm not demeaning, and you think about all these books and things and everything that is out there. And I feel like that if I have a harmonious relationship with myself, if I'm happy with myself, if I accept myself, if I love myself, then I am in tune with my body, and therefore I wouldn't need other people to tell me how to exercise. If I wouldn't need somebody to tell me how to eat, because even just listening to my body, being intuitive, because when you think about it, and I think about my childhood, a lot of things I'll do, and it's just natural. It's something that I just do, and then you realize later on, you read it, and oh my gosh, I've been doing that. I call that an unconscious knowing, right? That it's just intuitively that you do something, and that same power, that same knowing, can be used to create the health that you need, to tell you, we have already the biological rhythm inside of us that we can revamp if we listen to our bodies. Um, and I've heard of other people saying that, not worrying about it and giving it over to creative intelligence, that innate awareness that we have of what is good for us, what is best for us, and what is not. So your relationship with yourself, I think, really requires a lot of quiet time, at least in the morning, and I think midday and night before you go to bed. And I used to do have my timer set for midday, and I did it today, and I said it a little bit earlier, but I really think it helps to reconnect with the source of life, because we can go through stuff, we can do things, excuse me, people can say things to us, we can hear things, the news, whatever it may be. And sometimes we can feel as though, if you really are in tune with your body, you can feel like you're maybe rushing, feel like you're not in tune with the source, or you feel like you're just off key, off centered. More than likely, it is true. More than likely, something has happened that has you feeling that way. And I believe just even taking moments, it doesn't, I'm not about just the way that, so much about, form, and you have to sit this certain way for meditation, and you have to do it on a comfort, or you have to do it on a mat, and if it's raining, I can't do it outside, so where am I going to meditate at, because that's where I normally meditate. We put too much thought into things when we're thinking about self, and self is about being in tune with the power that is within you. It is about recognizing who you are, spirit, clothed in human form. It's about understanding you have gifts, talents, and abilities. It's about understanding that you have a source that has infinite wisdom access to, and that your like I said, your birth is satisfaction enough, that no matter what anybody says or anybody does, um, you cannot fail, because you came from love. I mean, spiritual love. You are love, and that you cannot fail. So I think so many times we just think so much, overthink. I know I do. I overthink sometimes, and I realize that I'm doing that, instead of really just aligning with, because that's how you're going to preserve your energy. That's how you're going to preserve your mind, your time, your body, all of that. is by being in tune with this infinite source. So when we think about relationship with self, it is treating yourself as you want to be treated, caring for your body as you want others to care for you, and really deciding, your circle of influence. Because your circle of influence, whatever you are around, you want it to be in alignment with who you are. Because do not be fooled. Bad company can ruin good morals. And that is in the Bible, and we've seen it, where people who valedictorians and just people that were really doing things well, or a decent person, or just really a nice person, got mixed up with somebody else because of that energy, that vibe, because of other thought seeds that come into your internal garden, which is your body. So it's so important to look at, what is my relationship like with myself? How do I talk to myself? How do I treat myself? What foods do I put in my body? What's my relationship with myself is going to, who I hang around with. It's going to tell me how I care for, how I love myself. What do I do? What words do I use? How do I dress my body? How do I wash my body? All of that plays a role in how you present yourself to the world, how you present yourself to others, right? So I just wanted to get on and talk about relationship with self, and how it's so important to look at that. Not only look at, what I believe, the spiritual, this power that created me, but also too, knowing that I am here for reasons, knowing that I don't have to overthink things, and I can spend time with the source. It can direct me, it can help me, and I don't need to rush. I don't need to feel bad. I don't need to have writer's block. If it's not time for me to write, then it's not time for me to write. Knowing that my needs will be met, that if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, that I'll be taken care of. And if I use my time wisely. So, all right, you guys. So I hope all is well with you and yours. Thank you so much for listening. You feel free to reach out to me at tamikaj@aim.com for any comments that you have. And take care of yourself. There's only one you, and that's a very, very, very good thing. I'll talk to you soon.